I know it is in mine too.
Hey everyone! We are live, just about 32 seconds late, but we are here. So, tonight, like all the nights thus far, please show up. Let us know where you're from, what you're hoping to gain from tonight's special highlight podcast, this Beacon of Light highlight podcast. And so, in the podcast, we like to see where's everybody from. This will be broadcasting live from Kyle, Texas. And Hope, where are you from?
I am from Pine, Colorado, mountains about 45 minutes west of Denver.
Awesome. Very good. So thank you for joining us. Bring that Rocky Mountain High into the sweltering heat of Texas down here and spread it out all through the country. We'd love to see all of that. So I'd also like to announce that those people that show up and comment, like, share, we have a wonderful prize for you tonight. You have a copy of Out of Darkness for free, signed by me. And we would love to be able to give this away tonight. And so please go ahead and like, comment, share, and let's go ahead and jump on into this. And off we go. Hope, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So my name's Hope Flansburg. I am an author. I'm a wellness and self-care educator. And I hold and owner of Hope for Health Wellness workshops and retreats up here in Pine, Colorado, where I hold women's events, health, wellness, collaboration, community. We were trying to do them about once a month, but COVID hit. And so things have been on hold, but we are jumping and diving back in starting August 1st. My husband and I were a blended family, proud parents of 4 daughters. We have 2 son-in-laws and 4 grandchildren. Empty nesters, and just kind of now diving in and figuring out what life looks like as children are grown, raising adult children and grandparenting. And then my husband and I just really enjoying life together and our relationship and our marriage in a different way than we have before. So that me.
Is wonderful. I love it. I love the fact that you're focused on health and wellness. I think that is such it's a timely thing to really be focused in on. And I'm sure this is encompassing on a whole bunch of pieces of health, and where we've got emotional health, physical health, probably spiritual health, that's all kind of combined, because we know the more we can reach and combine together, the more overall and wholeness we actually have. So I really appreciate that message and things coming forth. Now, tell us what type of author you are. What's your favorite thing to write? Fiction, nonfiction?
I am a fiction romance junkie. I have been since a very young age. Started me writing, or not writing, but started me making up stories in my head probably 30 years ago, kept me entertained on road trips. Never sat down and started writing until 20 years ago. I finally started putting some of my ideas and my imagination on paper, and then put it away. Life happened. I put it away. And then about 15 years ago, I picked it up again. And it looked very different at that point in time, because having grown up reading fiction romance, reading suspense mystery, all of that, I love love. I love relationships. Family and relationships are incredibly important to my heart. What I envisioned and imagined in my mind in my early 20s, teens, early 20s, looked very different when I started putting it on paper in my 30s, because I had been through trauma. I was starting on the healing process. I was using my writing as a tool to help me through my healing process and cope. So it did look very different, and I wanted something different with my books than what I had been used to picking up and reading for this reason. I wanted very relatable characters. One of the things that I noticed, and this is going deep, because I really, as I became more emotionally intelligent, personally and professionally, I realized aspects of myself and aspects of a lot of people that, even though our stories and our experiences were different, sometimes our emotions and our healing process we're similar.
Okay.
And so that's what I wanted to get across in my books, is kind of these real life relatable stories of overcoming adversity, trauma, how it affects us, how it the behavior that comes along with it, the challenges in relationships because of it. And one thing that I really noticed is, as I was hearing other people's stories, because I love to hear of what other people have gone through and how they've persevered and how they've overcome their obstacles. And there were a lot of similarities, but one of the things that I noticed is those who were willing to admit it, there was a point in time through their healing process where they didn't necessarily like themselves or were proud
Mhm.
of themselves. There was a lot of shame. There was a lot of, I'm trying to think of the word, animosity towards themselves, but it came out in different behaviors and
Sure.
expressions. And so I do bring that into my characters because I think that's really important for people to understand, is that we all go through it. We've all been there. We all understand that kind of that dark and the light that's inside of us and the
Mhm.
internal battle that we have, and what that looks like, and the choice you get to make, and individually, and what that looks like for you, and that it is possible to have the negative emotions along with the positive emotions, but still make a choice to move in a more positive direction with your life.
I love that so much, because the power of what a character can bring that has real relatable connection, it
Mm,
makes the reader, it gives them an outlet, it gives them a sense of connection, and it's very safe because it's fictionalized.
yeah.
Yet some people think, "Oh, that's a fiction book. I'm actually suffering through a big trauma here or what have you, so maybe I'll just read that for fun." But really, I would love to encourage everyone, especially in my groups, people that have worked through a lot of trauma and who've just left abuse, anything like that. When you see and pick up a fictional character, you can just allow the emotions, allow everything to really submerge into it. And it's very, very safe space. I teach a lot of the times with my students how connecting to a character, they can take the blame, they can
Yeah.
take the hurt, they can take all of it because they're fictionalized.
Hmm.
Now, they still drum up incredible, helpful
Hmm.
emotions, even when they come up to that point of, I mean, you share a very intense scene in Piece by Piece right at the beginning. And then as we go through the book, we understand the reasonings and all of the things for it. And I'm not going to give it away, so you all have to read it. But the point about that bringing up such an intense piece of, violence and shame, what it allows us to do is, if you've experienced that, it brings it right to the forefront, and it will well up emotions like that. And then if you're allowing yourself to process the emotions and not stuff it back down, you actually start to step forward more and more in a healing journey. So I think fictional books are a huge help in this journey and in this process, because sometimes we get so tied up in the how-tos and what happened next, and I'm even saying that, and I've written 2 books that are similar to that. But I really encourage this next piece because it helps in the wholeness of it, and it's very safe. What do you have to respond to people who have said, "I can't believe this. I read your book and I felt this," or "I read your book and you captured it in this particular way." How do you respond to those things as an author?
It warms my heart on so many different levels. This is not my story. It is a story, but it's not my story. That's the first thing that people ask me, is this my story?
Mm,
It's not. But through my work professionally, personally, having raised 4 daughters, just having friends, and having that understanding and kind of going deep with them when they were in it. Um, oh, look, there's my mother posting.
hey, Mom.
Hello, mother. um, has really helped me. And that's one of the things that especially raising four daughters. I was raised personally with two brothers, and so a lot of the emotional dynamics and understanding that wasn't something I was around a lot growing up. So as I got older, and then having raised four daughters, there was a part of me when they were experiencing things in life, and my friends were experiencing things in life, and the people that I loved, and then myself. There was a point in time where I said, I know I can't fix this for everybody, but I'm going to dive in and I'm going to learn. I'm going to try to understand. So understanding the heart of a woman has been a huge passion of mine. And so when my readers come to me and say that they were able to connect, like I said, one, it just, I feel like I did my job. Even if and it's not necessarily a job. I absolutely love writing. I love coming up with these stories and the characters. I fall in love with my characters because they are people that you can love and hate and wrap your arms around, and also want to shake at the same time and say, why aren't you going to get this? And why aren't you getting this? And why aren't you fixing this? Which is what we all feel in relationship with each other at different points and times in our life. And I wanted to bring that out because the books are so relationship focused, whether they are romance, but it also dives into the family relationships, relationships, and relationship with yourself, and then relationship with your higher power, depending on what that looks like for you. So it encompasses everything. So I love when my readers are able to see the messages between the pages. And I love to hear it from their perspective, because I wrote it from my perspective, but what they may gain and understand from their perspective brings new clarity to me and helps me as I dive in and am writing future books as well.
That's so incredible.
Author
I love the piece in Piece by Piece about the relationship with the parents. I don't want to give away any plot lines or anything, but I am really excited to see I actually listened to the audio book, and so it was really fascinating. And while I was listening to it, the concept at first, I was like, oh, so she's going to have at least one perfect nuclear family. Here it all is. And as you go through and understand the story and the depths of what each character actually gave, and that was so fulfilling for myself to see how well-rounded a character could be. I mean, I sound like I'm going to be in an English class and go into all of these things, but truly, I'm all about the story. I'm all about what is your story, what makes things, what breaks you, what builds you, what makes you. And in a fictional place and setting, the world is open to do whatever. I know other writers that have taken their own personal story and put it into fiction because it is a safe place for that. But understanding how you can still weave reality within it. And if someone becomes closer to their maker from that, if someone understands, wow, now I totally get what my sister was going through. That's just through story. It is truly, truly powerful. So Hope, you have a wonderful storytelling gift. And I just want to lay that out there right now. You really do. Crystal says, great cover, relationship with self and higher power. Love it. And I agree. I think it is fantastic. So how did you come up with the name Piece by Piece for this particular novel?
The book had an original name, and to be honest with you, I can't even remember what it was right now. And I didn't change it until, oh gosh, it was probably last spring. I changed it on an author coaching call with Author Academy Elite. And my gut, like I said, I can't even remember what it was, but my gut, I was on a coaching call and I was like, you guys, my gut is telling me this is not what I want. This is not feeling good to me. I need a different title. And as I started, because when you're writing your book and you're getting ready to publish, you read it so many times. It's just ingrained in you. And so I was going through different parts of the book, and there was a particular part where my character was having a moment, a deep inward reflective moment with her sister. And her sister is a big part of her storyline and her trauma she experienced. And there was a part where it just said picking up the pieces of our heart piece by piece. And I just knew immediately. And, so the coaches, Carrie was wonderful. He really helped me look and see if that, was going to be a title that resonated, that, people could find when the book was released. There was a process with it. And then my tagline again, was a group effort. And that's what I love about Author Academy Elite is we can be this group effort, and we brainstorm and we talk it out and we say things out loud, and finally when something really fits. And so that's kind of how it came about. But I wanted to kind of go back and tag on, if I could, what you said about the parent relationship. And one thing that I really wanted to reflect in this book is I had my main character, my protagonist, Jessie, and it was all about her trauma. But one of my main goals was to show how her trauma affected the other people in her life. And it wasn't one or two people. Everyone in her world was affected by this thing that happened to her. And 15 years later, with the storyline, when you read it, 15 years later, when she kind of how that one event changed and shifted the normal, and how it made a new normal for everybody. And because of COVID, we're all going through that right now. We're all normal is what everybody's talking about. And so in that book, again, like I said, it's not everybody's story, but there are bits and pieces that everybody can relate to when they look back and think. And April, you and I talked about this, those moments when your life shifts and it's just, change is happening and you're going in a different direction, and how it really impacts everybody in your life.
It really does.
It's important to me to bring out.
Yeah, I think that the light and darkness that can come from something, it is that small pinpoint that people can start to see, something's up. Within the family that you have in the book, they all know something, and yet they respect the bounds and they respect the agency of the main character to know that she will reveal when the timing is right, and they don't press it upon her. They just love her. And so in all the work that I do in where we're putting together those pinpoints of light, we talk extensively about networking and supporters. And true supporters are like this family. So I'm actually recommending chunks of your book to people that want to become supporters, because what I'm trying to get them to understand is a supporter is there always. They're like a first responder. They do not force anyone into something. They may know part of the story, the full story, and they just wait until the victim or the person that has experienced trauma is ready, because that's the time that they need somebody. And when they ask, that supporter is right there. No questions asked, no worries, no conditions placed upon it. So true supporters don't extend their hand conditionally. They extend it fully. And I love the way that you've encompassed that, whether that was consciously or not. I really appreciate and connect with that, because the networking that somebody who's in abuse can do with a supporter, I mean, it helps them create the exit plan to get out. And we've been talking about that through the week with my group. So that is true pinpoints of light. So Hope, you have a second book that's coming out pretty soon. And in this second book, does it involve romance?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love it. Does it have,
I love love.
Yeah, you do love love. I'm telling you, she knows how to capture it. And so it's very hopeful. I think her name is a part of how her light shines through this, because the events she talks about, they're big, they're hairy, and they're hard. Do you want to share a little bit about your professional life and what you've been doing over the years? And maybe some people can see an insight to some of the light that you shed into your characters.
Yes. So I've worked with children and families for years, and about, I'm looking at the timeline. About 2000, for about 10 years, I worked. That's not right. So for about 6 years, I worked at a supervised visitation center. So at the supervised visitation center, we had two two overheads that the program did. We helped investigate crimes against children. So we worked as a collaborative team with law enforcement, Department of Human Services, the DA's office, all of that stuff. When there was a crime against children, whether it was physical or sexual abuse, we worked, which both of those topics are in pieces. I wanted to cover both of them with the two main characters. Abuse, just different forms of it, and how it shaped them, how it formed them, how it affected their life. So that was a little bit of my background with that. The supervised visitation part is that, and this is coming in a later book later on, is that I helped supervise visits with families who were going through crisis, custody battles, parents who lost custody of their kids due to abuse or neglect. So we had that component as well. And then when we moved here to Colorado, I worked for Colorado House Bill 1451 with families with youth at risk. So a lot of education, a lot of understanding, a lot of just hands-on in the field work with these families and what they were going through. And collaboration. We collaborated with a variety of partners around the community too. So learning and understanding how their programs were also supporting families that were at risk as well.
So with that background, I hope you can see and understand and know that when she envelops and puts these types of things within the character, she knows what she's talking about. And I think the reality seeps through, and that's why they're so relatable. And the work you do it's just so, it's so healing in so many ways. And I'm going to share a little story about her book, Piece by Piece. So I'm an audiobook junkie because time is a crunch for me. So anytime I'm usually cooking dinner, that's when I kind of get my downtime and I just get to float away on a book. And I picked up hers, and I actually burnt 2 dinners because I'm like in the la la land, forgetting what I'm doing. It boils over. And so many times during those 2 weeks, my kids were like, oh, she's listening to the book. Oh, and I'm like, yeah, just a minute. I mean, I was just lost. It was so fun to fall in to something like that. And to be completely honest, any I'll call it modern romance, never picked up, never even thought I'd had an interest in it. But after reading or listening through the words of your book, I'm like, oh, well, Hope's got a fan in me, so I'm gonna pick up her books for sure. But what I'm saying with that is it just fell into the story so quickly, and I had to know the whole thing about, can I just say his name?
Yeah.
Zane. I had to know about Zane. I was dying. I was dying. And of course, I agree with, do you do like home decor on the side? Because I want to live where Zane was living. Okay. I'm like, oh, she's described my perfect home.
So many people tell me that. It cracks me up. I just described my perfect home. So
it's really fun. So to get back,
one of the things that I also, when I first started writing fiction romance, one of my goals was I read a lot of fiction romance books where I was like, the poor men in this world, this is really unattainable for them to live up to these standards and expectations, and women too. So I wanted to bring in real life challenges that couples face when they're going through marriages, when they're trying to heal from, when they bring the past and the baggage in with them, and how it affects their relationship. And that, in my next book, Angel Kisses, I really dive into that, into the marriage of my couple, of the baggage that they bring into their relationship, and kind of a crossroads that they hit, and a choice that they have to make on what they're going to do with their marriage because of that. Amazing. Because that's what we all experience. It's not happily ever after and sunshine and roses all the time. It's not. It takes work, and I wanted to bring that across in my romance stories as well. You can have happily ever after. It's possible. I believe in it. But what are you going to do to get it is kind of my, and it does take choices, and it does take work, and it does take partnership, and it does take healing.
It really does. So on that note, can you show us your book and hold it up loud and proud? All right.
It gives me chills. I get so excited about it. And it really makes me so excited when I hear your words and the people that it resonates with. I've even had people tell me that after reading the book that they've called counselors and they're like, okay, I'm ready to do the work. I know it's possible. And because I teach wellness and self-care, I'm in, education, there is a piece of that in here. It's very subtle, but it does encompass that there is a possibility to live mind, body, spirit, the happiness that you deserve and the possibility of getting that. So thank you, April, so much.
You're so welcome. So hold that book up again. She has been nominated for an Author Academy Award, which means everyone is voting. We have through the month of July. And so these votes are really important. Do you know what page? Because there's 16 topics. That means 16 pages. So which page are you going to be on?
12, the clean romance.
Oh, clean romance, page 12.
So
we will put all of those links down below to the Author Academy Awards, which page she's on, and what are the best ways to get a hold of you, Miss Hope?
So you can find my website is www.hopeforhealth.me. And on there, you can find more information about me, my wellness and self-care events and workshops, what I do for my job, book information, just kind of my personal story as well. I have a story and what brought me to this place and healing as well. So you can find me on my website. You can also find me on my Hope for Health Wellness Facebook page and Hope for Health Wellness Instagram.
Excellent. So we'll post those links down below as we close things out. So Hope, I love this, what Janet says, good points. I think she means to say read your average romance without a constant eye roll. And I totally understand that because like you said, so many characters are up there. It reminds me of, goodness, that old movie, Romancing the Stone with Joan Wilder, right? She would create these incredible, the cowboy that never failed, or the Greek god that could only do good, and yeah, we're messed up people, and we're gonna make mistakes. Yeah. Our love is authentic. Our love is real, and when you can pack that into an amazing character, that is a true gift. So everybody, piece by piece, vote for Hope. It's going to be on page 12, and we'll post all those links below. So Hope, let's have you have the last set of words. What would you like to say?
Oh my gosh. Just thank you, April. Your willingness to connect and collaborate. And that's what I love about this community that we're all in, that we've met each other, and your heart and your desire to just reach people through collaboration and community is huge. And I've been so blessed to get to know you. I've been so blessed to be part of this program. I've been blessed to be able to get my work out there because my goal is just to reach the heart of readers that for whatever reason, wherever they're at on their journey, the messages will resonate with you and take them and do what you want with them. But hopefully it'll provide some inspiration and empowerment to know that you don't have to stay stuck, and it is possible to have happily ever after.
It really, really is. Thank you so much, Hope. Piece by piece, vote for her and share with her. If any of this has impacted and resonated with you, we'll have the opportunity to share this out onto different platforms through the evening. And thank you for all those that showed up live. We will be reading your name for those that win a copy of Out of Darkness for you tonight. And go ahead and get out there and vote. We'll see you all. Thanks so much.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody. I appreciate you being here.